Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and this is going to be one of these reoccurring topics for me. It's going to be one of those things that I probably need to cover pretty frequently because I prescribe box squats and because I'm a big fan of the box squat these days, and I have all of my clients box squat. The problem I run into because people will say, well, if you think box squats are so great, why don't you have them in any of your cookie cutter programs? And it's because simply put, a person who you are not coaching one-on-one, teaching them the box squat is almost impossible. It is almost impossible. And a lot of people will hear you say that and they'll laugh and be like, that can't be true. And it's like, I found even after I made that first video and I've taken on new clients, that getting someone to actually squat below parallel onto a box, even after making multiple videos on it, people who've seen those videos, my success rate's only 50-50. I would say at this point with new clients, the first time I have them on a box, even if I specify a 12-inch box in their actual workout, they will squat to an 18 or a 20-inch box, 50% of them. And these are generally intelligent people. And as crazy as that sounds, that has been my experience working with clients. And people say, that can't be. What do you mean? And the funny thing is that I've actually had subscribers send me their own pictures of a box squat and say, is this low enough? And they'll be on an 18-inch box. Right? Who aren't even my clients when they send me a private message. And it's like, no, guys, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And the ironic part is that what most coaches who teach the box squat notice is that in person, if you take a person in the gym who has never done a squat before in their entire life and you try to teach them how to back squat versus teaching them how to box squat, what's easier? The box squat. It has an easier learning curve. The actual box squat is easier to learn and to teach than a back squat. Right? It's way easier. Usually you can take a person who can't squat to depth even with their body weight. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Every personal trainer out there knows what I'm talking about. Or people who do not believe that they have the ability to squat to depth. Right? You'll take someone who, even if they built their squat up to 225 or 275 for reps and their half squats, and they say that's as low as I can go, you walk over and give them an empty barbell and put them on a box. You have them squatting 3 inches below parallel inside of 60 seconds. People who don't believe they even have the ability to squat to depth, who claim my hip mobility won't let me do it. 95% of the time, within 60 seconds, you can have them squatting well below depth. Right? You can have some of these people squatting 8 inches deeper on a box on the first try than what they squat in person. It's easier to teach. It's easier to teach in person. And it fixes everyone's depth issues, because usually people who claim that they can't squat deep enough due to a mobility, it's because of the bar path they're trying to use. It is the bar path they're trying to use in the way they're trying to center it and where they're putting their feet. And when you put them on a box, that goes away. Especially you force them into a wider stance, you get them onto a box. The biggest problem you have, though, with teaching someone who already squats is that they believe they're supposed to use the same weight. They literally believe that they are capable of squatting to a box the same weight that they use with a barbell. And so therefore, in their mind, that can't be right. And so they go to this really high box every single time unless you've drilled it into their head. Like, again, my success rate is very, very low getting a person even on camera to squat to depth their first time with a box. It happens, but it's, again, very low success rate. So if that's what you dealing with individual clients, the question that I have is, how could you possibly prescribe this in a program? Like, I wish that there was a way to do so. I wish that I could write a program and have every person box squat. I wish that I could. But how do you do that? Because you can't get people to squat to depth. They won't do it unless you literally coach them and tell them, I want you to squat to a box that measures 12 inches tall. I want you to take a tape measure, or 13 inches, or whatever you happen to prescribe them, right? Because even if you do that, there's a 50% chance that even a paying client who is paying for this information is going to squat to an 18-inch tall box or a 20-inch box. They're going to do it and then send you the footage or the picture and say, is this deep enough? I think it's deep enough. And these people know it's not parallel. But then they'll be like, I was able to do it. This was easy. And it's like, well, of course it's easy. Because you're 8 inches too high, 6 inches too high. So of course it's too easy, right? But when you have them squat to death, people freak out. Because the first time you get on a box, you're so much weaker on a box squat. Like you can literally take someone who can squat 315 for reps, right? And I've had to do this with multiple clients. You put 225 on the bar and have them box squat it to a 12-inch box. They freak out because that 225 turns into like a 1 rep max for them. They have no speed. They can't. They pretty much have to grind it. Like they barely can stand it up. And this will be guys who can do reps with 315 to parallel. It's a different animal. It's a different beast. And if I could get people to do it correctly, I would love to prescribe it in programs. I would write programs and put them out built around the box squat, but they're going to fail. And it's not because the programs are poorly written, and it's not because the box squat is difficult to learn. It's easier to learn than a back squat. That people won't do it. No matter what instructions you give them, you can't get people to box squat. You can't get them to do it correctly. They won't sit back and they won't go deep. Unless you literally force them to do it. And you have to tell them as an individual. And some of you guys laugh because this last time this came up, people have said, well, that can't be true, Jason. That can't be true. I know that it would be a 12-inch box. I know what parallel is. And they'll say that, but if they go test it, I bet a lot of them would still end up building an 18-inch box. It's exactly what they would do. 80% of the people who claim that. Because I'm not dealing with stupid people, with clients with this. Some of these people are very intelligent. Some of these people who do this have 6-figure incomes and graduate degrees. They'll get on an 18-inch box when you tell them 12-inch. Right? So I wish I could get people to do it because it's such a phenomenal exercise. I mean, box squatting builds its own unique type of strength. Right? It builds a unique type of strength. It builds a speed, strength, and explosiveness that is second to none. I mean, studies that have looked at things like rate of force production, rate of force development, the box squat is king. You know, we talk about getting explosive, and I have people who say, well, why aren't you doing power cleans and stuff? It's like, try doing box squats against bands and come back and tell me that the power clean is the best thing you can come up with for developing explosiveness in your lower body. All right, this is a superior modality because it can be taught in one session. Right, you can teach someone to box squat in one session and then hook bands over it and teach them how to speed squat, right? Can you teach someone to power clean perfectly in one session? No, it takes like 6 months. It takes a year. It's not a useful tool. I feel like I need to do its own video on that of a reason that's an outdated modality. But the box squat just brings so much to the table. Right? It gives you so much extra ability to have use of your hips. It brings a posterior chain in so well, but the main thing is that the amount of power that it builds in the hips is phenomenal, and it carries over to so many other things well. Like the box squat improves your deadlifting dramatically, particularly your sumo deadlifting, which we know increases the conventional also. It really is such a useful exercise, but you can't get people to do it. And that's where it's ironic again, because in person it's the easiest squat to teach. Like there is no squat that is easier to teach to a person one-on-one than the box squat when you're instructing them. It's a very, very easy learning curve. But long distance, it's hard. And prescribing it in a program, because it's hard. I mean, people think a back squat is hard. Try doing heavy box squats to a 12-inch box. All right, start putting people 1 inch, 2 inches below parallel. Totally different beast. And again, nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to do it. So I don't know what the solution is to this. I mean, I would love it if people had solutions for this. I'm trying to figure out ways to do this myself. If I could find a way to teach people to do it correctly, I would write it into programs all the time. Every one of my programs at this point would be adjusted to include it. But people are going to high squat and they're not going to get the benefits and they're just going to get hurt. All right, guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.